Hey, I'm Emily Johnson, Certified Financial Planner, Managing Director of Polaris Capital, and I am joined now by Todd Harlow from Work Plan Retire. And Todd is an old friend of mine, and we happen to be having a conversation earlier this week about some areas that our businesses overlap. Todd's a retirement plan specialist, so think 401ks, profit sharing plans, et cetera, et cetera. He's the specialist. And we were talking about some areas where our businesses overlap, specifically when it comes to clients who are looking for income in retirement and what a challenge that is today. And Todd deals with lots of plans, plan participants, et cetera. And so we thought that it'd be interesting to have him come on and discuss some different ways that that he's looking at creating income in retirement and different strategies that people are employing. So.
Emily, I appreciate the opportunity, and as you mentioned, we are old friends, and the conversations, I think, made us realize that our worlds are really colliding. I think, you know, the corporate retirement plan market, 401ks, as you mentioned, and pensions and so forth, is definitely changing. It's in the crosshairs right now relative to the Department of Labor ruling and just, you know, countless things. And just this past week, really what hit me, I'm doing some consulting up in North Carolina about our industry, in the fact that, you know, if we're honest, we've whiffed a little bit as a corporate retirement plan industry, in that our attempts to educate the participant. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. We're really good at— I
wouldn't even just say that the corporate retirement plans have whiffed. I mean, I think financial advisory in general, you know, it's so highly advertised, and yet when it really comes to what we're trying to provide, it doesn't seem like we really drive home the value that we're trying to add.
You got it. And I think we've done a great job at our industry in convincing and talking product and getting people to move money from point A to point B.
Right.
But the true measurement of what that turns into, to your point, an income stream, I think we need to do a better job of talking very frankly, communicating very well, and letting people know at the end of the day, the goal is to replicate a paycheck.
Right.
I think they understand Social Security to a point that when they ultimately retire, they walk out to their mailbox and there's money. Their own retirement, whether it be a pension, a 401k, is an extension of that. Putting the two together, there's their income stream. We need to start there, the old start with the end in mind, and work backward. And I think you see it every day, dealing with people in transition. And that's really what we need to focus on.
It's so interesting. So few clients actually come to you and actually say, what I'm trying to do is recreate my income in retirement. They're so product focused, and they've been so driven to look at their 401k and to look at what stocks they're investing in, and not really look at, you know what, that day that I actually leave with my gold watch or whatever it is, what I want is still $10,000 in my checking account on the first of every single month. And very few clients actually walk in my office and say, that's what I want. And we have to sort of reposition what they're looking at in their accounts and say, okay, we're taking this particular account, but what we're trying to do is create a pension for you, or create a lifetime of income, and have it be more than just lip service.
Don't you find they're relieved when you actually tell them that?
Because it's like human terms.
I think they think they're supposed to lead out with their statement, an evaluation. Is this product, did I do okay?
Right.
And just this week, to your point, I had a woman come in and ask me, "Is this enough?" Or it was a question.
Common question, yeah.
And I was struggling to come up with the analogy, and I said, "Do you ever use these directional apps?" And I said, well, "I used Waze to get here." She jumped on it. I use Waze too. I said, "Imagine you tried to use that."
I'm not that cool. I use Google Maps.
The same, but you can't even start if what? You don't enter the destination.
Right.
It's
Good analogy.
And so,
very nice.
But think about that. So they come to us with their list of investments, and again, I keep harping on this: corporate retirement world, individual planning world, people in transition retires. It's the same thing. And we need to, as an industry, comfort people, encourage them to start with the end in mind. It's labeled as financial planning, which is kind of this taboo thing that I don't know if I want to endeavor and get into. But the reality is, it's their own personal pension that ultimately is everyone's quest, and it's colliding.
And I think a lot of people are afraid to ask questions if they feel like they should know something that they don't know, and that's unfortunate, because really the questions are what drives our ability to do a better job for them in creating that future income.
The intimidation factor is real, and it's unfortunate. I had to tell half the people I met with in these one-on-one type of dynamics this week, you're in the majority. They're again relieved to find out that they're not the only one, but as you know, it's almost an embarrassment factor, and they think they're trying to impress us with things like no load or interest rates or whatever the terminology, the jargon du jour. doesn't really mean anything until we understand where they're trying to go. And then that's when the advice can really kick in terms of what we can provide for them. But again, back to the Waze analogy. If there's traffic, you pivot. It tells you another way. And if you ever do those apps that actually ask you, would you like to go this alternative route? Yep. I use the example. That's when we maybe pick up our phone, not wanting to text and drive, but we might pick up the phone and actually tell someone we're running late. Why? It's told us. Right. There's a pothole. There's traffic. Yep. And our lifetime income stream is literally the same way. Yep. You deal with it. I got divorced. My account got chopped in half. I had to put kids through school. An injury. Yep. It is no different. Right. And this income challenge and so I think it starts with clear communication of what this entire thing is about. And people think it is about picking the best investments, load versus no load, mutual funds versus stocks. Right. And I just, I think this is why we kind of think the same way and get along. I just think it's a reset of communication that we as an industry need to have the courage to break down real simple.
So let's say you were starting it again. So how would you position it when if you're walking into a new 401k with new participants, all ages, because that's probably exactly what you see when you're when you have a plan of probably all ages. So how would you position that? Like, what would be the starting point that you'd want to present at that point to build that trust from the get-go, and also to open up participants and basically any investor, individual's mind to repositioning that?
That's where we are. It's a great question because we do have to reset, in my opinion. The first one is that is the understanding that this is about empowerment. You are the key. I do this one consulting gig. I'll just one tangent here.
Go for it. Hit it.
The occupational safety hazard will pay. If you have a good OSHA score, your factory or facility is bonused effectively because you have few incidents of injuries and things like that.
Good to know.
So I'll never forget this. I'm washing my hands at this one consulting facility, and embossed in the mirror right above where you'd be, it said, "You are looking at the person most responsible for your safety." So to answer your question,
as opposed to employees need to wash hands before they go back to work.
I would say you are looking at the person most responsible for your future income.
That's fantastic.
It's empowering.
We should put that in bold on the bottom.
Right,
here, so.
and then I think it's our job to make them realize that when we can start with that, number one, about your own empowerment and your own involvement in it, then we need to make it simple, which builds trust.
Yep.
When we start with heavy product information, they don't understand it, they crawl in a hole and do nothing.
Exactly.
So
it's interesting. I think some people would run and hide from the empowerment. So I think you have to give them that knowledge too to go along with that. Otherwise, they'll fear the empowerment. I think to some degree, we've become conditioned to being able to put blame on the markets and on bad selection, on bad investment advisors, on whatever, as opposed to saying, you know what, I am actually in control of this. I'm the one that's earned this money. I'm the one that saved this money. What I want in the future is based on me. I think we have to empower them with knowledge too. So that's.
I do, and back to trust, right? Having the courage to do that. Some people will say, well, if you give them too much, they'll do it themselves. I don't believe that.
I agree with you. In fact, that's been shown, in fact, in your industry for sure, isn't it? The fewer funds, the better, or something
completely
like that?
No one asked for this complexity.
Right.
We forced it on them. It's having the courage. We've talked about this with your father, and being in the medical profession, is the people who talk to his patients and comfort them about the end result that they're likely to get from whatever he's recommending. The trust factor goes up. Same thing with our business. Sometimes we think we sound smart and we have to talk in jargon. Trust typically goes down and we don't get the desired result. So we need to communicate more clearly. We need to let them know that the benefit is about them. Again, back to trust. When we start talking in jargon, even though some people are trying to help them, they think it's about us, not about them. So making it, again, back to my hand washing analogy or whatever, making sure it is clear it is about the benefits about them. We're here as a guide. And having the courage in some ways to admit that our role is merely a guide. I said we're the world's highest paid disciplinarians in some ways. I think it's true.
I'm not a very good disciplinarian.
But I think that's largely our role.
Parent, so.
But you said something amongst all this craziness that we talked about the other day that I think is important and clear, is we were talking about the craziness of the market, the high fees. It was a lot of negativity. And you said something to me that I won't forget. You said, but I still love this business.
I do.
Why?
Because it's all about the people. I mean, this business is, the finance part is the easy part. You can go to school, you can, get an MBA, you can, whatever, but that part is it's rote and all, you learn it. When it comes to the people are the most, it's the most rewarding aspect of the job. And when you see that aha moment happen, when you see the light go off, that they say, oh, not only am I empowered, but I understand and I actually almost enjoy it. That's a great feeling when you feel like you've actually empowered somebody with that knowledge. So that's a great feeling. I wish it was the case all the time, but maybe it will be more in the future. So thank you so much for joining us today, Todd. And hopefully you can come back and join us again in the future, because this has been fantastic. I know we have a lot to talk about.
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
More to come.
All right. Thanks so much.